Have you ever imagined a small American town where politics turns into a live comedy show? I clearly remember the day in Sunol, California, when the sun had just peeked over the horizon, casting golden streaks across the rooftops. Laughter, the calls of breakfast vendors, the aroma of coffee, and the clatter of feet on gravel blended into a chaotic yet oddly pleasant soundtrack. The whole town was buzzing because Bosco Ramos, a sleek-coated Rottweiler, was running for mayor. At first, I thought they were joking, surely they're sunstruck, or someone's pranking me. But when the votes were counted and Bosco won overwhelmingly, I realized I was witnessing one of the quirkiest moments in American political history. The townspeople cheered, clapped, and lifted Bosco onto their shoulders, the dog wagging his tail as if delivering a speech. I couldn't help but think, if a dog can lead, what the hell am I doing with my life? Children ran around with sparkling eyes, and an old man muttered, "Finally, someone honest. No corruption." I laughed along, realizing Bosco was teaching the town a bizarre yet profound lesson. Sometimes, a four-legged leader is more trustworthy than humans. But Sunol was just the opening act. Rabbit Hash, Kentucky, is the real capital of four-legged mayors. Back in 1998, when I arrived, the tiny town square was packed. Ballots were handed out, but the candidates were dogs. Kids ran around waving cardboard banners, shouting slogans like, "Vote for the healthiest dog." A young man stood on a makeshift podium pretending to be the MC, reading a speech for Goofy, a hunting dog. I pledge to bark on time, wag my tail loyally, and ensure all parks have enough chew bones. The crowd erupted in laughter, and I realized that here, politics was a game, but a game that brought the community together, made people laugh, and drew visitors. Lucy Liu, Wilbur Beast, and other subsequent mayors all created their own hilarious moments. Once, Wilbur Beast bolted from the podium mid-speech, and the crowd chased him around like in a kid's game. I stood there, doubled over laughing, wondering if anywhere else in the world dared to turn politics into a literal dog chase. In 2014, I visited Cormorant, Minnesota, where Duke, a Great Pyrenees, served for terms as mayor. The townspeople greeted Duke like a real leader, pastries, drinks, a small jazz band playing, and Duke strolling through the square like a four-legged president. A group of children brought cardboard cutouts of Bosco, mocking previous terms, and Duke just wagged his tail as if saying, "I'm still in charge here, no one comes close." When Duke passed away in 2019, the town held a memorial. People cried, shared funny stories from past terms, and I realized these dogs weren't just jokes, they were living symbols of honesty, joy, and community spirit. Not just dogs at Lajitas, Texas, Billy, a goat, was mayor. I laughed out loud watching him sip beer and wander through vendor stalls during his inauguration. The townspeople even set up a council meeting with a fake microphone for Billy to speak, and organized goat-themed competitions like climbing hills or hopping over fences. Some locals even formed a human rights protest group with signs reading, "Humans deserve a chance to," sparking comical debates between supporters and skeptics. I stood there chuckling because clearly, this kind of political game wasn't just funny, it strengthened the community bond. I witnessed plenty of unexpected chaos. During Wilbur Beast's inauguration at Rabbit Hash, he leapt onto the cookie table, ruining the stage and sending everyone into fits of laughter. In Cormorant, Duke once ran off mid-speech, children chased him like in a live-action game, while adults cheered. In Lajitas, Billy drank half a bottle of beer before the speech, and had to be guided to the podium with a leash. All these moments made me laugh and marvel at how, in small towns, politics could be playful yet meaningful, bringing joy, community, and turning leaders into symbolic mascots. Standing in the square, listening to the townspeople share these funny anecdotes, I realized that these quirks gave each town its unique identity. A dog or a goat wasn't just a pet, they were spiritual leaders, embodying honesty, humor, and community connection. I imagined if the entire US elected a dog president, the White House would become a giant dog park, tense meetings would turn into bark-offs, and policies would revolve around chew bones and dog parks. Of course, that's just fantasy, but these towns show that politics doesn't always have to be serious. It can be fun, creative, satirical, and a little furry. Alongside the elections, I saw local folk antics, humorous disputes, people pretending to oppose candidates, shouting playful slogans, kids drawing campaign posters, and elders recounting, "The last mayor barked better." International media came by, snapping photos and filming. One reporter joked, "In America, even dogs can govern." I laughed because it was funny, but also true. This is a part of American culture no history textbook will ever mention. What struck me most was how townsfolk treated four-legged mayors as spiritual leaders. They laughed, created, sometimes lightly satirized, but always with affection. I wondered if anywhere else in the world could politics be turned into such a humorous yet meaningful game. Leaving these towns, the evening sun glinting off statues and old signs, I realized this was a vivid lesson in how people can turn politics into joy, creativity, satire, and a little fur.